With the Spurs needing shooting and the trade deadline approaching, Cam Johnson's name has been circulated with respect to the Spurs, but it's not just him. Some recent articles have pointed that the Spurs could be an ideal landing spot for Zion Williamson. We got to dive into that. Plus, a little note on something crazy Wemby did and a look towards the Spurs-Lakers game as we're finally getting some Spurs basketball back. All that coming up on this episode of Spurs Digest. Welcome into the show. And guys, before we get into it, I wanted to thank you guys for the crazy support on the last few videos. Just wanted to say thank you so much. And all I'm asking in this video, if you could just leave a like on the video, it'd mean the world to us. It's super easy. It helps us more than you could ever know. Hit it down below. We'd really appreciate it. I want to start this video off by looking forward to a game that's going to happen in LA. So thankfully, this is finally happening. Again, thoughts and prayers out to everyone affected by the fires. Want to give you a little quick preview of the game. Nothing too crazy, but I do have some interesting stats that I think you'll be interested in as well. But hey, maybe you're watching this after the game. You can skip ahead to the trade stuff as well. There'll be timestamps, as always, down below. So a little look at the injury report heading into this game. This is recorded well in advance of the game, so this may change before tip-off. But really for the Spurs, the only consequential injury is Sochan is questionable, but the Lakers are looking like they probably will get Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And well, that does make a big difference for the Spurs because right now, the standings are incredibly tight. As a lot of you know, the Spurs do sit in 12th in the West with the 13th, 14th, and 15th seeds being pretty significantly far behind them. But as you can see, the difference between the Spurs and the Lakers right now, the 6 and the 12 seed is just 2.5 games. And if the Spurs win this game, they make up a full game on that, right? They win this game, they go to 19-19, and all you need is a Suns or a Warriors loss here and there, and the Spurs are right back into a play-in spot. And all you need is a decent week, and the Spurs could be as high as 7th, 8th, 7th, 6th in the conference. So this game here does have pretty big implications, as most games will going forward for the Spurs. They've been on a bit of a skid, losing 3 in a row, of course, but I think this is the perfect opportunity to bounce back. Because as I pointed out in yesterday's video, a big thing with Victor Wembanyama has been he's been playing a lot of minutes, and when he plays a lot of minutes in back-to-back-to-back games, his stats, not all of the time, but they have sometimes tended to dip and dip and dip, and that's what we've seen recently. But I think this is a great opportunity to see the offense run through Wemby against the Lakers, see what he can do. I mean, he's always proving himself against the premier bigs in the NBA. Now, whether Anthony Davis will have a big effect on him, I don't know. But in his short career so far, Wemby is averaging 24 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 4.4 assists in 5 games versus the Lakers, including a 30-point game in his first ever game against the Lakers. You notice how close some of these games are together? Like November 15th and 17th, December 13th and 15th back in 2023. I wonder if that's intentional, but the block numbers too, 6'2", 5'2", 3, averaging 3.6 blocks along with those other numbers. So Wemby tends to play very well against the Los Angeles Lakers. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do tonight. Again, even if Anthony Davis is healthy and playing, he's probably not going to be at 100%. So this is going to be a very interesting night. I want you guys to leave. If this is before the game, leave your predictions down below. Spurs win, Lakers win. Love to hear from you. It's fun to finally get some Spurs basketball back. And after some good rest, I'm looking for a very good performance to get back to 500, get back on track. Let's move into the trade talks. And the first thing I want to talk about, you saw in the intro video, I actually don't want to talk about Zion quite yet because that's a bit crazy to me. But the more talks over the last few days that we've seen about him, I don't know. Maybe it's becoming less and less crazy than ever, but hold your judgment on that because I think a lot of you are probably already typing angry comments. And hey, you know what? Fair play. But I want to stick on Cam Johnson for now because I think he's a very interesting player. Now, I've mentioned him on the channel before. I think some of the other guys have as well. Now, this article, as always, is linked down below. Go give the author some feedback, go read the article, give them the credit that they deserve, right? But I'm here to talk about these trades with you guys and give my thoughts on it and a little more maybe advanced stats here. So, I'm interested in this here. The Spurs adding sharpshooter Cam Johnson to potential deal with the Nets. If the Spurs don't want to go star shopping, they can set their sights a little bit lower and target Cam Johnson. He's the best shooter on the market. He'd make for an excellent fit. So what do they propose the Spurs give up? Well, it always seems to involve Keldon Johnson, doesn't it? But anyway, Cam Johnson has attracted attention from a lot of other teams, but one potential trade could see the Spurs ship out Keldon, Charlotte Hornets 2025 potential first-round pick that'll likely convey into 2 seconds, and 2 seconds alongside that. So ultimately, you're looking at probably Keldon Johnson and what would end up being 4 seconds-ish for Cam Johnson. Is that enough to land him? I don't know. I'll let you guys decide. We'll bring up his stats here full screen. He's averaging about 20 points a game this year, shooting 50% from the field, 44% from 3. He shoots 53.1% on corner threes. That is one of the highest in the NBA. Now, he's very much a pure spot-up shooter. He's not a guy that creates his own threes, as we kind of know. He can create his own offense a little bit inside the arc, though. It's not crazy, right? But the dude doesn't turn the ball over a ton. He doesn't foul a ton. He's just out there to score, get you a few rebounds, get a few assists. And honestly, as I mentioned before, I actually think that kind of play style fits incredibly well within the Spurs system. Again, it's going to really just come down to whether the Spurs actually want to make any moves like this for a guy like Cam Johnson. Do you really need to rush into something like this? If the price isn't too high, I kind of say why not? See how a guy like him at the very least fits with the team, because I can imagine it'd be good, right? Like, Harrison Barnes is fitting in pretty well, but Cam Johnson's a better shooter than Harrison Barnes. And hey, Barnes has been decent in and of himself. So I think this could be very interesting. It all comes down to whether the Spurs would have to outbid a bunch of other teams. We don't really know because there's going to be a lot of demand for him. But anyway, I'll let you guys sit on that one. This is maybe all of the trade talks that we have on this channel, whether it's Bradley Beal or whether it's, De'Aaron Fox. Cam Johnson seems like maybe the most realistic fit for the Spurs and also wouldn't cost them an arm and a leg. And the Spurs have a lot of assets that they could give up that maybe some other contenders who are looking to add a guy like Cam Johnson don't have. So I think logically it makes a lot of sense. Logically, a trade that maybe doesn't make as much sense, but that I'm very interested to cover anyway, is Zion Williamson. Now, this proposed swap sends Zion Williamson to San Antonio for Keldon Johnson, Zach Collins, Chicago's top 10 protected first, and a Spurs top 14 protected 2026 first. I'm just going to come out and say that I don't think that's enough to get it done. Now, it depends on your opinion of Zion Williamson, of course, because right now he's having a decent year in the time that he has kind of played, sort of. I don't know. It's hard to tell with him, right? He comes back and plays a game. People are like, oh my gosh, it took him like just a few minutes to shake off the rust, and then he immediately gets fined by the team for, but the rumors I heard was that he missed a plane, right? So it's just a bunch of weird stuff, but his name has been circulating in the trade rumors a lot, and it hasn't just been recently. I mean, there's been some stuff going down in New Orleans that I think a lot of us, Southwest Division fans have seen, right? Now, we've heard Brandon Ingram talks in relation to the Spurs, but never really Zion. But man, you're seeing his name pop up everywhere. Like Fox Sports, they put out an article saying a couple of great landing destinations for Zion. Could be Portland, could be Detroit, could be Charlotte. I've seen rumors of Zion to the Warriors. And then so some Spurs fans are kind of saying, well, why not the Spurs? My answer would be because it's kind of a risk, right? You'd end up paying this guy $40 million a year until what, 2028, something like that. I don't exactly, I think it's until the end of 2027, if not 2028. But his fit is decent. Now, he can't ever stay healthy. He's had other problems off the court. I'm not going to dive into those. I think a lot of you guys know some of that stuff. His weight is another issue, though. He looks thinner now, blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, like, if we just put it in the vacuum of a healthy Zion Williamson, you can't deny that his theoretical fit, as this article states, with Wemby would be off the charts. Wembanyama's strength as a stretch five who can also protect the rim, that offsets Zion's weaknesses because he's a 6'6" power forward who can't really shoot from the outside and is questionable on defense. So you would get another guy who could really score the ball very well. I think you'd still need some very good playmaking guards to make this work. Like a front court of Zion and Wemby is amazing. But only if you still have a guy like Chris Paul running the helm, right? I don't think a guy like Jones or even a guy like Fox could work for sure, but I'd prefer maybe some more playmaking out of the backcourt. But hey, who knows? Maybe you could go like Wemby to Zion lobs, whatever. But if he were to play alongside Wemby, then suddenly those flaws would be hidden. Wemby's emerged as a high-volume three-point shooter. He's shooting almost 10 a game this year, if you guys didn't know. And he's shooting a decent percentage. So this is the thing. Like, I don't know. I have a hard time coming up with an opinion of whether I like this or not, but ultimately I don't think I like this for a couple of reasons. I just think it's far too early to be locking up that much money for a bunch of core years of Wemby. Again, it's not going to necessarily be his prime or anything, because I still think his prime is 4 or 5 years away, which is kind of scary to think about, like how good he is now and how far away his prime likely is. I just think throwing that much money at a guy that is so uncertain in terms of on-court stuff, in terms of off-court stuff, in terms of health, it's just such a gamble. And not only that, this price here of Keldon Johnson, Zach Collins, like a bad contract in Zach Collins, Keldon Johnson, who's a theoretical high teens, maybe low 20s point score if given the ball a ton, which he probably won't be on a good team, and a couple of picks that are pretty heavily protected. It's like, I don't think that gets it done. I think Zion's too good a player. I think if he even is up on the trade market, other teams are going to be willing to pay more. But it also depends on how desperate New Orleans is to get off that contract. If we hear stuff coming out of the organization saying like, look, we want to move on from this guy. I know he's $40 million a year, 36, 37, whatever it is. I know he's $40-ish million a year. So, we might have to be a little lighter on the trade package that we want to get back. Sure, but they're never going to say that. It's never going to come out publicly unless something huge happens. So I think I'll put this in the pipe dream section. Pipe dream being a healthy Zion coming to San Antonio and winning championships alongside Wemby. But I thought it was interesting to bring up nonetheless because his name has been out there a ton in the past few days in terms of trade rumors. And, you know, I say, why not talk about the Spurs? Even if I don't think he's gonna be here, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it down below. Leave your thoughts on everything in this video. I'd love to hear your feedback. But that'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, guys. You've been helping us like crazy. We're on the road to 4,000, and if you made it here over 10 minutes into the video and you haven't hit that subscribe button, we got Spurs content nearly every single day, all the latest news, rumors, reports, all that good stuff. This is your spot to be. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one.